Hi everyone, it's Vince Sellers again here with another episode of FBI Talk. Today I'm going to talk to you about the meet and greet and share my thoughts and perspective on this part of the hiring process that is absolutely critical. Every step is very important. It's like arguing about the most important part of a car. Every part has to be done and has to work together to accomplish that goal of making it into the FBI at the end. But arguably, this meet and greet is sneakily the most important part of the process, at least as I understand it today. So we're going to talk about that some. So when I went into the FBI, it was 2005, ancient times, long time ago. The world has changed a fair amount since then. The FBI has changed some, but it's a slow to change organization. So I think that still a lot of the things that I experienced back then as part of that hiring process, which has changed a little bit, still apply. So I'm going to apply my knowledge of that process, and even though it wasn't exactly the same, sort of relay that into what I would recommend you, if you're watching this, and if you're interested in trying to join the FBI, what my 2 cents is in trying to navigate that process the best you can. So again, we're going to focus on the meet and greet and the importance of that. So of course, the hiring process for the FBI, it's out there, it's on their website. They have an excellent FBI agent selection process that describes, a document that describes from step 1 to your initial application, and then the phase 1 testing. If you pass that, then the meet and greet I'll talk about here, and then you go on to phase 2 and written and oral examinations, and then beyond that you finally get your conditional approval, and then eventually you get to go to the FBI Academy, and then eventually you get to become an agent if you're very lucky and determined. So the meet and greet, though, that might be one that you're like, that's not a test. I'm going to study for phase 1 and practice, take an IQ test and all these things, and try to nail that phase 1 test. And then phase 2, I'm going to really try to prepare for that and nail that, and then I'll become an agent. Well, if you think about the funnel of, a big funnel of a bunch of applicants, potentially in a given year, hundreds of thousands of people applying, clicking, sending in their applications to the FBI. The big top of the funnel, well, the FBI starts narrowing that down. They whittle out some people at first, then you do your phase 1, they whittle out a bunch of people there, and then eventually it gets to phase 2, and then finally become an agent by the end, right? And that number of people shrinks each time. Well, a big part of the funnel, I don't know that the funnel looks like a nice 45-degree funnel that you might use to put oil in your engine in your car or something like that. The funnel has some waves. It's got some cliffs and verticals and horizontals. It's not a perfect straight line. So probably one of the biggest dips in where the funnel really narrows is the meet and greet, trying to get selected for phase 2, who's most competitive. So the FBI agent, of course, they've named their competencies. I think there's 8 of them. They're very common corporate type of competencies or things that any good organization wants to make sure that their employees are embrace. So, collaboration and some of the teamwork or whatever. I don't even have the list in front of me. I don't remember what the FBI ones are, but they're very much standard in line with, yes, they want people that are, can show some leadership and work well with others and all that type of stuff. So it's very important for you as a person interviewing to try to join the FBI to understand that this meet and greet is a spot where that funnel is narrowed down from quite a few people who pass phase 1. And if you have passed phase 1, congratulations. Not everybody does. And the funnel has narrowed. But between phase 1 and phase 2, the FBI's got to somehow try to pick the people that they think are most competitive. And again, that's absolutely critical. This meet and greet serves a huge portion of that process and trying to narrow that down. So what I recommend everybody do is take the meet and greet very seriously. Dress nice. Make sure you wear a nice suit and look professional. Pretend that you're going to, dress for the job you want. Dress for that good-looking FBI agent. Get your, if you need to invest in a suit, the FBI doesn't work out, then at least you've got a nice suit to dress up for a special occasion. But make sure that you look the part. That's a big part of this meet and greet. Honestly, you're showing up to this meet and greet. Other agents, active agents who have been there and done that, they are physically evaluating you. They're looking at your appearance. If you look like a slob and you come off with your demeanor as being, just that doesn't seem like your FBI material, then you're going to be deemed least competitive. Now, I do not claim to know exactly how those evaluations are done. Do they hand out little forms to everybody at the end of the meet and greet, all the agents, after everyone leaves? I don't know. And I'm not going to speculate really on that, but I can tell you that impressions are made, whether you're numerically evaluated or not, who knows, but impressions are made, and if you can make a good impression and demonstrate that you're a normal human being, you can interact with other human beings, you can talk, you can listen, you can be professional, then that's going to go a very long way. And again, that may be sneakily, I'll use that word again, the most important part of this whole hiring process that could be overlooked by some people. And use that to your advantage. If people are overlooking it, that's your end. Maybe your test scores aren't quite as good. Maybe you're not some super, Navy SEAL or Special Forces, badass. That's fine. I mean, I came from a corporate environment and was really nothing special. I didn't have any law enforcement experience or, no military experience that definitely made some people very competitive candidates. But I was able to make it in. I can talk to people. Obviously, I can talk about subjects at length. If you're watching this, you're aware of that. So thanks for sticking with me. But that ability to converse with others and work with other people, it's absolutely critical. Now think about this. As an FBI agent, and the people that you're talking to at the meet and greet, those are FBI agents. They know that after their meet and greet, they may have an operation that night or the next day where they're going to sit in a car with possibly a partner or maybe someone from some other squad in their agents in their division and work an investigation. May they be doing surveillance for 12 hours straight, sitting right next to another human being for 12 hours. Now, if you've flown overseas, you know what that's like. That 12 hours can feel like 3 months. So my point, again, a little off track here, bear with me. FBI agents are thinking in the back of their minds, is this somebody that I would feel good about working with? Or am I inflicting some really annoying person, maybe has some annoying habits, and I can inflict this person on other agents who will curse me for allowing this person to be deemed as most competitive and make it through the process somehow, and then just be a disaster to work with. So I think the best way at the meet and greet to try to navigate these waters is to try to strike that balance between asking good questions. So do this. Ask good questions. Do your research in advance. Know that FBI and nothing else. Know that FBI website. Know all of the formal materials backwards and forwards. You shouldn't be asking questions that, about phase 2 interview that are clearly stated in the FBI's own literature. You're expected at that point, you're playing a role of, it's almost like a pretend I'm an FBI agent. You should have already demonstrated that, you've already done the research. You've read the books. You've read all the online materials. Yeah, you're not going to ask some dumb question like, oh, is there a written exam and then an oral exam? Like, no, you should already know that. But there's nothing wrong with, and this is where I would suggest asking good questions that are not covered in the literature. And, don't be afraid to push it a little bit if and ask questions that maybe the agents don't want to answer. And, like, oh, well, what are the, can you share anything about the questions? Or, that's obviously not a great question, but, ask something that is not apparent or not something that's actually written down anywhere that the agent might be able to share. Like, oh, when you went through the process, was it nerve-wracking? Hit some of the personal notes and show that you can converse. I cannot tell you how important that is. And again, at the end of the day, the FBI agents, a large part of the job is gathering intelligence, talking to people, talking to suspects, and getting a confession, talking to witnesses, maybe witnesses at a bank robbery, but being able to converse with someone, being able to put them at ease, demonstrating that you have that ability is absolutely critical. And so if at the meet and greet people see like, oh yeah, that guy's, yeah, that lady is, she's talked to several agents, she's made a good impression, she asked some decent questions. More importantly, maybe than asking questions, is the ability to listen. Ask a short question, then tune right in, laser focused, listen to every word. If an agent is talking to you, give them 100% of your attention. Agents are human beings. Many humans like to talk about themselves. Again, I recognize as I'm stating this to the camera that clearly I am very guilty of that. Again, thanks for bearing with me and watching these videos. But yeah, I like to talk, sure. And that's I think that's good for you. If someone asks me a question, if I was at a meet and greet and someone asked me like, oh wow, how is it with your personal life really? I mean, did you have to move? I know I've heard you have to move from another part of the country elsewhere. What is that like having to relocate? And did you make friends when you got in the FBI? I mean, are you friends with your squad mates, or those type of questions? Those are fun. Let FBI agents answer fun questions. Let them talk about themselves. And that's going to score you a lot of points because, one, it's, the most important thing is it shows that you have the ability to ask good questions and also listen to those responses. And at the end of the day, that's what an FBI agent's job is. So just don't come across as annoying and don't ask dumb questions that are already in the literature that shows, yeah, this person cared not enough about the job to even do the research. So just keep those tips in mind and you'll be well positioned. So one other tip I want to share, again, back to some of these core competencies, make sure that you build your own little library of stories that you can pull from. This will be beneficial for the meet and greet and then later for the phase 2 oral interview. This can only benefit you. And also you can use these stories as part of your resume and to make sure that you're checking the boxes with these FBI competencies that are very similar to these corporate type things. But take them seriously because that's your way to show that you are most competitive and not just somebody that's barely meeting the requirements. So to build this library of stories, I would just recommend that you write them down. Come up with stories, maybe practice delivering them to a camera or to friends or family that can be critical. Or do it to a camera or play it back and be critical of yourself. See where you're stumbling, maybe saying too many ums like I just did. Don't be like me. But just practice it. And if you start practicing delivering these stories, have your nice little arsenal of stories, then that's only going to benefit you. And I think it's a good time to start at the meet and greet. Even if you might just use 1 or 2 of them, if you've got a nice little library of maybe 10 or even 20 that can demonstrate that you're meeting these core competencies, etc., then it's going to be to your advantage. Now, if you are telling one of these stories, don't just go on and on and on. Try to be reading that FBI agent's face as you're talking to them. See if they're looking around, if they're looking at their watch, if they're looking at the empty drink glass, then take that into account. So that's one thing. Don't come across as being overly annoying or just never stopping talking, again, which I can be guilty of, obviously. But nevertheless, try to balance that, act of relaying information about yourself, but not bombarding people with, too much information. In fact, if you want to talk specifics, I would recommend whittle down these stories to where you can deliver them in less than 1 minute. So 30 seconds to a minute is a nice amount of time to be able to, give that example of a time when, I used, my coworkers, we had this big project and, we were able to accomplish X, Y, Z, and, we had some challenges, but we overcame that with this. Be ready to do those. And I know even as I'm stating that, it sounds a little bit obvious or like you're kind of overselling yourself, but just have a few stories there It doesn't have to be a whole thing that you have memorized, but just be comfortable talking about situations that you've been in. That if you're asked by an agent that, if what's your background or what have you done? Like, oh yeah, well, be able to tell like where you've worked, maybe some work experience, and just be able to respond. If an agent has a question, be able to respond with a nice story that can show that, number one, most important, you can work well with others. You can collaborate. You can get along with other people. That's really the most important skill of being an FBI agent, in my opinion. And that you can show initiative and leadership, creativity. All of those things are great as well. So again, study up on those core competencies, and that will also benefit you. Well, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and my long-windedness. But I think this is very important, the meet and greet, that part of the overall hiring process. Man, that funnel starts narrowing very quickly between phase 1 and phase 2. And this is your chance to stay in that funnel and maybe come out of the bottom of the funnel as an agent. And if you make it, fantastic, congratulations. And if you don't, then just know in life, this is all you can do is give your best at something. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And usually down the road, however it works out, you can feel good about it and feel like things happened the way they were supposed to. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will talk to you soon with another episode. Take care and stay safe.